Hi guys, John Picarello here, and today we're going to talk about, it's a question that needs to be answered. Is your company's culture telling your story? That's so important because every company has a story, and every company is made up of individuals, each having a story. So when we come together as a team, keep in mind, let's just say if you have a team of 12, you have 12 life stories coming together to tell one story. So that means we need to get everybody on the same page. And that is really important. So understand how that is and what can go wrong if it isn't the issue. The issue really needs to be unity of thought, unity of purpose. And if that isn't the issue, then you're going to be all over the place. There's an ancient biblical story about the city of Babel, or Babel, if you will. And we're all familiar with the Tower of Babel. And what was the issue with the story? The bottom line of the story was that these people went to settle a city, but they did not follow the designs for developing a city. Because when you're developing a city, what you're developing is an area where people will live life in community. You can't have a functioning city. You can't even have a functioning neighborhood or a functioning family if everyone just lives as individuals. It needs to be life in community. So in order to tell your company's story, the first thing you need to have is a team. And your team needs to be telling the same story. And this is what happened in Babel, where they decided to forego the issue of how to do life in community, and they decided that they were going to build a tower that reached the heavens. They wanted to build the biggest tower, but they didn't want to do it for productivity. They wanted to do it for notoriety. That was the problem. So had that happened, the city ended up being destroyed. But the thing is, if the city had succeeded in that, they would have been an island unto themselves, and they would have destroyed themselves anyway, because the mindset was themselves and no more. Let us do this. Let us get all the attention, and so on and so forth. So that wasn't life in community. They would have not been doing business with the surrounding cities, the surrounding villages. So what happens is they became an island unto themselves without any bridges. That's a problem. So why did I tell that story? Well, I could remember in the early 1990s when it was popular to write mission statements and vision statements, and around the time when Stephen R. Covey came out with his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And everyone was writing their mission statements. Everyone was trying to understand the culture and the story they needed to tell. So what they did is they would write out their story, and they would have meetings until they came up with a vision statement. And sometimes it was done elaborately. Sometimes it was just a simple plaque on the wall. So when you came in, you came over to the reception, or you came over to the desk, whatever it is, when you walked in, right above the head of the person who is going to serve you, there would be the company's culture statement. It would be their vision or their mission. And you would read that, and it would be amazing. But it was so popular that everyone lost the idea of the story, and they focused more on the statement rather than the productivity that would come from acting out the statement. So you saw businesses, after a while, they would just swing loose from their mission, and they weren't telling their story anymore. They were hiring people without a thought of whether they would be a cultural fit for their company. All they were thinking of is the bottom line. Why? Because we want to make a name for ourselves. We want to be number one in our industry. Now, that's not a bad idea, but it's how you go about it. If that's the end all, let me tell you something. Customers and clients can smell that a mile away. That's self-serving, and that is not life in community. And life in community tells a story of serving others. And that's why it's so important to pick people who have the same gifts and the same talents for the area of the need you want to meet in your company. So when your onboarding process, don't gathering a bunch of talented people. You want to begin to be purposeful. You want to have people who are aligned with your vision and your values. So what happened in Babel, they were intentional, but they weren't intentional with their purpose. They didn't understand community. So your company is a community. So what is the story that your company tells? Where did you come from? Why are you in existence? Because that's what people are going to ask. Why should I come to your company? Why should I be your client? What is in it for me? Now that's not self-serving, that's just common sense, because I'm going to pay you for a service. So is your company providing the service that meets my need? Well, I'll never know if I walk in and I see one plaque on your wall and I see it on the headings in all of your papers, your brochures, everything you hand out, but yet in experience, I don't have a clue what you're up to. So the issue here is all about telling your story. People had to revisit telling their story, and unfortunately a lot of companies folded because they had the wrong people in the wrong places, everybody telling different stories. So ask yourself this: what's your story? And especially if you are an entrepreneur and you're starting up another company, that has to be a reflection of your story. And then you have to have a team around you that reflects your story. If you don't do that, you'll be unable to serve your community simply because you'll have communal problems in-house. So that's the reason your company culture has to be one purpose, one vision, and one language, so it can tell your story. So I hope that helps you. So until next time,